Hey, it's Les from the TV Dudes. This week, I got to chat with Coral Peña. You may have seen her acting alongside Meryl Streep and Tom Hanks in The Post. Or you can catch her right now on NBC's new spy series, The Enemy Within. We talk about all that, as well as her upcoming stage role in the play Blacks at the MCC Theater. It's a fun chat about what she loves about her craft, her time at school in London, and how she deals with nerves on set. Hope you enjoy. Hey, Coral.
Hi there. Hi.
Hey, thank you so much for taking out the time today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. I'm so excited.
So you're playing Anna Cruz on The Enemy Within. You've done some other, little known stuff like The Post, worked with a couple of directors. Can you talk a little bit about
a couple of these small directors?
Yeah, that Steven Spielberg boy. He's a nice kid. Can you talk a little bit about the audition process and getting on board to this show? And at this point, you've done a couple of kind of spy-ish things. Can you talk a bit about, obviously without spoiling anything fun in the spy game, talk a bit about Anna and auditioning for the role?
Yeah, so I actually, I originally auditioned and had a producer session for a role just in the pilot that was played by Lyrica, and it was just, a hacker. It was the person who identified Anna Cruz's character. Because in the original script, the character's name was Robin Bragg. And I just auditioned for this hacker part because I played a hacker in 24. It was like easy, And then the showrunner, Ken Woodruff, really liked my audition. And then, a few days later, my agents get a call from NBC and from Ken, and they said they would actually like to offer you this part of Anna Cruz. So it wasn't the first. It wasn't something I was thinking about. I thought, I just do this one episode and keep it moving. And then when this landed on my lap, I was so excited. I was like, absolutely, I'll take this part.
Did that kind of change up your headspace any? Did you feel it different in the room? I'm not sure how you have to keep yourself when going from audition to audition. I mean, I've heard, you don't book everything you go to. Your job is going and grinding through auditions. Did you feel it change in the room, or did you have to kind of tamp down, like, don't get hopeful, it's just another audition, chill?
Well, with the part where it was just a guest role, so one episode in the pilot, I kind of I went in and barely had any makeup on. I had my glasses. I said, I'm at this place. I feel like in my career where I'm just really excited to show people the real me, and I think that's really given me far, luckily. And so it was kind of new to me. I mean, I've never had this thing where I didn't have to audition. It just kind of got offered to me. I've never had that yet in my time as an actor. So that was really exciting. I mean, I guess they had so much faith in what I did in that one part to give me a recurring part. I think that's what helped me book it, that I kind of came in with a really easy energy, and they were like, what's this girl's deal? Yeah.
Well, I know you've had, years of theater experience, NYU, the Royal Academy. Has that changed for you over the years? How have you settled into auditioning, or do you feel like it's changed for you over the years from, early college, those first few going out for play roles?
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. There was a point where before graduation, so my junior year of NYU, where I really thought about changing my last name. I was like, I don't know if there's a place for someone like me. for a Latin woman who wants to do Romeo and Juliet, or all these things that aren't stereotypically they're not placed on Latin people. And so when I graduated, we kind of entered this really amazing time in the industry where people were really excited about seeing a lot of different types of people. And I felt like when I first started auditioning, I was like, I don't know how to present myself in 5 minutes. I mean, you feel this pressure, especially when you first graduated. When you're in school, you're like, I could be anything I want to be, and then you graduate, and you're like, wait, but who am I? And so it took some time for me to figure that out. Of what is it that what makes me different from other people, and what is it that I want to do. But it's funny. I'm starting rehearsals on a play, and I'm refinding my footing in theater because I've been doing screen work for a few years now, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how do I stand on a stage, and how do I project my voice without ruining it? I mean, you have all these things. How do I connect? How do I move the scene forward? And it's different. They're different muscles. So now I'm, after doing so much theater, like, having to rediscover it as a working actor now is it's something I didn't expect to happen at all.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up. I wanted to ask you about. I've only seen it written, and I've never heard anyone say it aloud. BLKS, Blacks, by Aziza Barnes, mm-hmm. and the play looks hysterical. I mean, it looks sharp. Every review I've read of it from other companies doing it. I wanted to ask, was it serendipitous that a play that really seems to thread a particular needle of kind of that? There was one review I saw where it talked about it not being about Black people, but being for, rather. Mm-hmm. And like that's a narrow, there's subtle differences. Like 50 Green Books is not going to do the same as not to crap on a particular film, but was it serendipitous that this play was there when you started looking for stage work again, or did this play draw you back to that? How did you come to be part of the project?
Well, it's funny. I've been auditioning for theater since I graduated, and I've gotten very far, and then naturally what happens is you get really far, and it's between you and another person, usually a white person, and it goes to the white person. And I felt like, oh my gosh, there's something about me as a Latin person that I feel like the theater world doesn't know what to do with yet. To have it should be the norm. It should be the norm that people of color are doing classical work, and they can be married to someone who does not look like them, and that should be normal. But it's still not. It's not everywhere. And what was really interesting about booking Blacks is that Blacks had, for my character, she had to be a Latin woman, and it was this thing where I could finally relax. I looked at the lines, and I read the script, and I said, I don't have to put anything on top of it. I can just be myself, and that's enough. And that was I guess the serendipitous part of the play appearing when it did, because I feel like I'm finally coming to my own as an actor, and for this to kind of also join the picture of being Latin is enough, and it should be enough in this industry. That really, it's something that I think the theater world needs to embrace a lot more. We have a play that is. You have women of color on stage talking about their bodies and their sexuality, and who are getting drunk and who are being reckless, much like someone in their 20s does, and it's really exciting to have theater audiences be able to watch that, and for it to be unified for sure.
Well, I love that there seems to, it's not nearly enough yet, but there seems to be more of these projects making it to fruition and hitting the stage or hitting the screen. I got to see Us this weekend. There's just been at least more than there were when I was a kid. And I think it helps normalize that radical idea that Black women are normal people who have normal problems, like normal 20s. Like,
which is crazy. It's like, that's not that radical,
no.
But it is, I guess, to show, mostly to show women of color, specifically Black women, being weirdos. You know, what's really fun about Blacks is that it's a bunch of young women who are artists who are kind of weird, artsy folk. And you don't see that a lot, but that exists. And to kind of be like nerds. I mean, there's a point in Blacks where one of the girls goes on a rant about Star Trek. And you're like, hell yeah, that's what we do, you know? But yeah, like it is so radical, but for Black women, for women of color to be naive and innocent and not know it all, that's still new, and that's sad, but it's exciting that we're seeing it.
You kind of alluded to it earlier. I love this idea of a role to find yourself in rather than hide yourself in, maybe. And I can't help but think when you'd mentioned earlier, kind of looking for your authentic voice and coming out of college, even graduate college school, and still wondering, who am I underneath this amount of education or this amount of craft? Do you think finding yourself helped you recognize these roles?
Yes. I mean, yeah, I would have been so scared. I would have been so scared to do a show like Blacks a few years ago, because you get nervous. I mean, you have a bunch of women on a stage, and they're just being their true Black Latin selves, but theater audiences are, unfortunately, because the tickets can be expensive, mostly white, and so it's to have all these bodies on stage and then look at an audience and see a bunch of white faces. I think that's scary, because you don't want this to be, like you mentioned before, you don't want this to be about Black women. You want this to be for Black women. And taking ownership of myself has allowed me to go, I can still make this for Black women, no matter who in the audience is interpreting this whichever way they want. It's still for them. You can't be a good actor if you don't know who you are, if you're not confident in yourself. It doesn't happen. It can't happen at all. Yeah.
When you were on set with The Post and acting against Meryl Streep, or even just being on a set where Spielberg's running it, did you feel anything extra that you did in your process to kind of steel yourself or stay calm, that you were there for a reason? They saw you audition, they hired you, you were legit to be there. Was there any additional thing you had that you remember particularly having to do?
What's funny, I mean, honestly, The Post was all a blur. I think it was so big. It was so. You have this amazing director and these amazing actors. I couldn't really wrap my brain around it at the moment, and that helped. Honestly, not really fully being able to wrap my brain around how big of a deal it is or was, is exactly what made it so easy, because since I couldn't really vocalize or describe the feeling, even in the moment, I kind of just had to make it normal. where it's like, these are my castmates and this is my director and we're just going to do a scene, and we're going to talk about it and we're going to have a lot of fun and we're going to play, and then that's about it. Like that was my preparation. Just making it so casual.
That's great. Yeah, I think you'd have to just kind of be in a zen place of like, this is all fine. This is totally normal. This is just a Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, it's just fine. Oh, yeah, no, that's Steven Spielberg. Yeah, no big deal. Yeah, exactly.
I figure growing up in Harlem is probably already a little more worldly and different than growing up in rural South or something. But either way, I assume going to the Royal Academy had to have been a jarring jump.
It was insane. I had never left the U.S. really my whole life. I was born in the Dominican Republic, but I came to the U.S. when I was barely a year old. So I'd lived there my whole life. To go to a completely different country, that was crazy to me because I had mostly gone to school in New York, and so every street I knew, every person I knew. I could be walking down the street and run into my cousin. And in London, I didn't know anyone, and I wasn't going to run into anyone I even vaguely knew. And that was really freeing to feel like no one was watching me. And I did some of my boldest work while I was at RADA because I felt like no one knew who I was before. And so I had this opportunity as an actor to really transform. And it kind of exposed to me that I really want to be this character actor. And so, yeah, it was totally an insane experience to, how old was I? 19? As a 19-year-old to get on a plane by myself to a different country and haul my 2 giant suitcases to a dorm and then just navigate things on my own and not have my mom in the same time zone or my sisters in the same time zone. Yeah, it was, and then my mom had never traveled either, so it's not like I could have asked her, like, so, like, I'm at this cafe, like, where should I go next? She's like, I don't know. I have no idea where you are. And so I think the fact that it was so completely different is exactly what made it so transformative for me, because I had nothing to base it off of. I guess it's somewhat similar to my post experience with, like, it was so different that I had to just make it normal. I have to go, okay, here are the tools I have. How do I be an actor with this toolkit now? Yeah, but it was a wonderful experience. I mean, I loved London. Really fell in love with the city.
Do you think that feeling of a clean slate or nobody knows me, has that been something that you've been able to hold on to after coming back to the States and starting your television film career?
I think, yeah. I mean, I came back as a very different actor. I came back still feeling like, okay, I need to understand how this industry works, like how do I get through the door? But it definitely made me feel like, oh, I could actually do and be whoever I want to be. I can do whatever I want to do. And I think had I not gone to the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, that I wouldn't have known that I could do that, that I could just transform. And that's allowed for someone in my body. That's allowed for someone with my hair texture and my skin color. That's allowed. I don't think it would have really hit. Yeah.
Thank you so much for taking out the time to talk to me today about your career and the play and Enemy Within, all of it. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.
The TV Dudes is an independently run podcast and a member of the Electric Sweater Podcast Network. We are exclusively listener-supported. If you'd like to help us out, go to patreon.com/tvdudes. You can like us on Facebook and Twitter @TVDudes. All the music for our show is by our friend and original TV dude, Gregory J. Amani Smith. To find out more about us, go to thetvdudes.com and electricsweater.com. I'm Grant Davis. Thanks for listening.